Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Kristen here with Simple Inspector. I am happy to announce this afternoon we have a fabulous presentation with Michael Page, and he is an expert drone photographer. He will be discussing some new techniques that you're going to be able to use to advertise your property, and probably a few fun facts as well for the drones that are now hitting the nation. It's kind of the new thing that's going on, so we always like to keep up with those new trends. This session will be recorded today and will be emailed out to everyone, so if there's anything on the slide that you'd like to be able to preview again later, you will be able to do that. So I will hand it over to Michael now, and he's going to teach us all a little bit more about drones.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you guys for having me. Yeah, we're going to jump right into the fast-growing trend of drone photography. And this is kind of, one of those industries that, nobody could have predicted that it was going to be as big as it is a couple years ago, just because of, the technology behind it has really kind of accelerated that growth. You're able to get pictures and footage now from angles that, before you could never fly a helicopter there, or it was just, too big, or just, unable to actually get footage. And now these lightweight, compact, very capable drones are now able to do a lot of things that we couldn't do in the past. This opening picture was taken here in Jacksonville Beach, Florida, and this is from a DJI Phantom 3. DJI is a Chinese brand, and they are kind of that is the drone that I use, and their DJI is becoming they want to position themselves as the Apple of drones. Basically, they're super user friendly. They come out of the box ready to fly. They have periodic updates, just like your iPhone has software updates from month to month, and they're just great, super fun, effective. They're just great products. So we'll jump right into this. Okay, so before we get into drones, let's understand what a drone is. Now, in articles and in the news, you may have heard the term UAS, and that stands for Unmanned Aircraft System. And basically a drone is an unmanned aircraft or ship guided by remote control or onboard computers. Now, obviously military drones and drones that civilians use for commercial purposes are going to be a little bit different, but most of them either have their own screen, their own interface to control them by, or they connect to a smartphone or a tablet or something like that, so the user can actually, not only see a map of where the drone is in relation to themselves, but they can also see, oftentimes, depending on the type of drone, you can also see what the camera is looking at on that screen, just in case the drone is out of your sight. Now, the price range of it's kind of hard for me to put a price range, because you can go to Toys R Us and they've got cheapo toy helicopters that are considered drones, and then they go way up into the thousands. Now, for most civilian commercial drones, you're not really going to get much higher than the $5,000 range, but there are plenty of people out there, techies and people that are really good with computers, and they kind of build their own custom drones to do different things that you and I wouldn't be able to do. But these are some pictures of drones. Not all of them have cameras, but of course any ones that we would want to use in the real estate industry would have a camera on it. Most of them have 4 propellers. Some of them have as many as 8. It just kind of depends on the brand and what you're trying to do with the drone. Some of them can even do flips, barrel rolls. Most of them just kind of move up, down, side to side, forward and backward. But there's a few examples of what some of them look like. And this is just kind of a graph projecting the drone industry, the drone market. And as you can see, we're still, 2015 is still way to the left on this graph. But they do anticipate that the civilian drone market's going to be over $3 billion by the time we hit 2024. And as you can see, the blue part is the military drone market. And, you know, both the civilian and military drone markets are growing just because, like I mentioned earlier, technology is getting better. So it's usually easier, safer, more effective to, you know, whether it be taking pictures or gathering intel for the military. It's just better, cheaper, more effective to send out an aircraft that doesn't have a human on it than it would be to, you know, send one that does have a human on it. So jumping into some of the trends and statistics, some of these we've already talked about, but the industries that are really benefiting the most from recent drone technology are going to be, you know, agriculture, energy, utilities, mining, construction, real estate, news media, and even film production. And all of those are, you know, pretty straightforward. I'll touch on a couple. Just, you know, if you had a crop, this came up in conversation. If you had a crop and you were wondering why, you know, certain parts of your crop weren't producing as well as others, and instead of sending a person out there, you could just fly a drone out there and see, oh, maybe there's a leak in your sprinkler system or something like that. You know, real estate, I mean, you can just see angles and perspectives of lots, empty lots, commercial buildings, residential buildings, and, you know, that's where we're really going to benefit is the marketing of real estate with drones. One thing that I know we're all excited about every time we hear it, and it does come up a lot in the news, is everyone says, oh, Amazon's going to be, you know, delivering packages with drones, you know, soon. And, you know, people within Amazon and many industry experts have, you know, shared their opinions that that's not the focus of the drone industry. Eventually it will get there, but that's not an early focus. And this stat is the one that really kind of blew me away. I mean, we all know it's fast growing, but the Consumer Technology Association estimates there will be 700,000 civilian consumer drones sold in the U.S. this year. That's up 63% from last year. I can't think of any industry that has grown that fast in this short of time. And I'm just going to cover the FAA regulation because I'm sure you guys have seen that in the news too. And this is important for two reasons. Whether you have your own drone or you outsource that work out to somebody else that does have a drone, you want to make sure that either, you know, you're registered or they're registered, just so that there aren't any issues. This came into effect December 21st, 2015. And if you purchased your drone before December 21st, then you have until February 19th to register it. But if you bought the drone for Christmas, say, or something really recent, then you are required to register your drone before you can even fly it. And basically what registering your drone does, and I just recently did this with mine, you fill out the form, you know, name, address, date of birth, all of your personal information, and then they give you basically a membership number. And somewhere on your drone, you're required by law to put that number on your drone. And the reason that they do that is because, say you, you know, flew it near an airport or crashed it somewhere or were doing something that you weren't supposed to be doing with the drone, they can find the drone, look at the number, and then look it up through their system to figure out who you are and then, penalize you as they see fit. So basically any drone above 250 grams, which is just a half a pound about, needs to be registered. And if you own multiple drones, like some people do, one registration can apply to multiple drones. And the registration is going to be good for 3 years. So you don't have to do it every year, but you do have to do it every 3 years. And you are allowed to cancel the registration if you sell a drone. That way there's no mix-up between, who is flying it and when they were flying it, things like that. And if you apply for the registration within the first 30 days, the FAA will waive the $5 registration fee. And now we get into rent versus buying. Since it is such a new technology, you really do need to ask yourself, would it be more beneficial to our company if we, outsource drone photography out, or if we purchase a drone, train somebody to use that drone and keep everything in-house. Some of the advantages of buying your own drone are pretty obvious. Scheduling, you're not relying on someone else's schedule. You can get things done now when you need it versus when someone is available. And also, you kind of know what you want. If you want certain angles or certain pictures or something like that, there's nothing that really gets lost in translation when you outsource it. Some of the benefits of outsourcing it and hiring someone else are that person's probably going to have a much higher expertise in photography and video editing than you do. There are no startup costs. If you don't have to buy your own drone, you can just outsource it and kind of pay per project, per listing. And then the second thing is, if you're already a busy person and you don't have any free time as it is, then getting out there, flying the drone, taking the pictures, editing the video, you don't have to spend any of your time on this. You can spend your time on other things that make your business successful and kind of just, let somebody else spend their time doing the drone photography. So basically it comes down to what is your break-even point. With any financial analysis, you need to figure if you're going to be, wanting to do drone photography on one listing every month, then it may be better to just outsource that and, find somebody in your area that you trust to do every listing for you. Or if you're going to do 10 a week, then that might get pretty expensive if you're paying per listing. I mean, obviously you could work a discount with somebody on, mass, multiple listings. But if you're going to do a lot, then it might make sense for you to have that initial investment up front, purchase the drone, train somebody to, let them spend some time flying it and learning how to edit video. So it's really going to be up to you and your company what your kind of goals are for utilizing this technology. And so what are some of the reasons, obviously besides the obvious reason that it's really cool and exciting and it's an attention grabber, it'll help you stand out. I mean, not many listings right now, I'll say, have drone photography and video. I can say most of the ones that I've seen are going to be on your luxury higher end, but eventually every single listing is going to have drone photography because it'll get more popular and easier to use and there'll be more options for it. But for now, if you beat everybody to the punch, it'll help you stand out. And also help you kind of in your sales pitch to any sort of new business. You can say, hey, look, we're cutting edge. We're doing stuff that not everybody else is doing because we're committed to being the best and giving the best to our customers. it's also a good way to build rapport with your owners or your clients. You make them feel special a little bit, kind of get them involved, and I mean, I've even brought people out to the listing with me, and they could, let them fly the drone, let them, at least watch it. Nobody that I've let fly or watch me fly the drone, nobody said that it wasn't cool and it wasn't like the most awesome thing they had seen that day. So if you can kind of make them feel special a little bit and make them feel involved. And one thing you could do too is just send them the pictures for free. Once you've got the pictures up on your computer, you could just shoot them a quick email, and you've already got them because you're going to be using them for the listing. But it only takes an extra 5 seconds to send them to them, and they've got a really cool kind of gift. So yeah, we'll jump into a couple examples that I have of listings that I've taken pictures of. This one's really cool. It's got a huge yard, so in normal traditional photography, there's really no way to kind of show how big the yard is until you fly the drone up, back it up a little bit, and kind of show the whole thing at once. Another one. I mean, this is sitting on a few acres, and it's without this kind of unique angle, it's really hard to explain to them that there's a garage out back and it's fully fenced and all these things. You can even see that creek out back. And then just again, this is another one, just a cool angle of the front that you can't really get from a traditional camera. And on this one, I mean, yeah, you can tell somebody it's on the beach. There's the sand dunes right there. But once you actually send a drone way up there, take a couple cool pictures, that kind of might spark some sense of emotion in them that, wow, it really is on the beach. Like I know you said it, but now I can actually see it. And again, riverfront sounds cool, but then if you actually see a picture of, hey, look, we've got this listing on this, it really is on the very end of the street. You got all this privacy. You've got the dock there. I mean, just really cool. All right, and I will jump into, I've got a video lined up of a listing that was here in Jacksonville. Okay, we don't have to watch the whole thing. But do we have any questions for me?
Thank you, Mike. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to enter those into the chat box, and Michael Page will be happy to answer those for you. I'll give you a few minutes to put in those questions, but drone photography definitely seems to be, it is the next big thing, and I think you can definitely set yourself up from your competition by using drone photography, especially if you're in the vacation industry. That beach photo you had, Mike, was really, it's a beautiful photo, and if people are going to be renting that home or that condo, they're really going to be able to, visually choose that property with their eyes, because they don't have time to, they don't come ahead of time to scope out properties like we would in long-term management. They're going to see that photo, they're going to say, I can walk to the beach, I'm sold. Where can I sign up for my week's vacation in Jacksonville? So this is a great new idea for sure, and I think it's probably fairly inexpensive as well to get done. Let's see here. I do have some questions. The first question I have here for you, Mike, is how long did it take you to become comfortable with operating a drone? So maybe there's a few property managers out there who are interested in maybe purchasing their own business and doing it themselves.
Right.
How long do you think it would take for them to be comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, it's like with anything, it does take a little bit of practice, and it's funny. I felt pretty comfortable after a couple months, maybe 2 months or so. But it's funny, DJI, the brand of drone that I have, the Phantom 3. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the brand of drone I have, they periodically come out with software updates. So every time a new software updates, they add additional features and some different things on there. So as soon as you kind of feel comfortable with it, they might come out with a new feature, and then it'll take you another couple flies, to get that down pat. But it's really cool, and just with anything, practice.
Now, would you rate the difficulty level on a scale of 1 to 10? Pretty easy, pretty hard? We have another question here asking about that.
Again, I think from my experience with this DJI brand, I think I would say about a 5, right in the middle. But there are certainly drones out there that are easier to fly than mine and harder to fly. So, but I'd say about 5.
It depends on how much money you want to put into it. I'm sure there's some better drone products out there,
right.
Cheaper ones as well, depending on what you're using it for.
Mm-hmm.
I think that maybe even down the line, once property managers master drone photography, they may even also start using them to do things such as deliver keys or other things that they can stay in their office, get their work done, and have their drone go deliver the keys so the tenants can move in. That might be, maybe that'll be next on the list.
Yeah, or if there's a roof issue, you could send the drone up and take a look at it before you send the roofer out there, so you know exactly what you're getting into.
Well, great, yeah, and that really goes hand in hand with Simple Inspector as well. That's why vacation managers love us, and property managers, and realtors, because you can actually upload unlimited photos right into whether you're using Simple Inspector app or Simple Inspector team. So remember, you can utilize drone photos as well for repairs, like Mike mentioned, with the roof, doing exterior inspections, checking on bush trimming, things along those lines. So make sure you're thinking outside the box a little bit. You can do more than just the initial photography and the advertising for your vacation rental or long-term rental, even in apartment communities. So there's more benefits than just the photography.
Yeah, and kind of On that same token, I think it's only a matter of time before insurance companies, start using them more and more for, hurricane claims or flood damage, things like that. That, maybe they need to get some footage or some pictures of an area that they can't reach by, foot. That'll be a trend to keep an eye on as well.
That's right. We got to start thinking, start working smarter, not harder. So drones can definitely help us out with that. Well, thank you for joining us today, Michael. It's been a pleasure. I don't see any questions at the moment, but if anyone thinks of anything else later on, I'd be happy to send over any questions to Mike. Feel free to email me at kristen@simpleinspector.com. And, as well, we want you to be successful while doing your inspection. So when you sign up, make sure you reach out to me. Be happy to do a demo, help you set up your account as well. And everybody have a fabulous holiday. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Kristen.
Have a great day.